Shaun Kenney. Shaun, former executive director, Republican Party of Virginia, did a great job there. Also, editor, founder of the renowned website in Virginia, Bearing Drift. Shaun, good to have you with us.
John, good to be on the show.
Now, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you and your lovely bride, Melissa, and your herd of kids.
A herd of kids. Is that the definition now?
It's the herd. You have the herd there, the Kenney herd. I'm sure you guys are glad when Christmas is done, right?
Oh, gosh. Every single year they make out like bandits, right? I mean, my dad sends presents out from Missouri. I got my mom throwing presents at him, uncles, aunts, all of that. They do really well every year, and we're surrounded by junk. But, you know, I mean, and it's one of those things where, you know, somebody will buy them the $100 present, and they always play with the box. I mean, that's the way it turns out every single year. I mean, the kids do well. We got the 3-year-olds at the age where Christmas is awesome, and they remember it and all that fun stuff. So, you know, a good time was had by all.
Now, I just have to ask you, with your brew, do you all go downstairs at the same time?
Pretty much, yep. And it's one of those things where, you know, 5 o'clock in the morning, everybody starts waking up. It's like, hey, can we go to the tree? Can we go ahead and start opening everything now? And there's no stopping it. It's you know you hear one or two of them kind of sort of awake, and then 2 or more wake up, and they all like bum rush the living room, and it's over. You know, it's just like, all right, let's just do this now.
Bum rush the living room. That's pretty funny. Showing 8:14 here on the John Fredericks Show with some bum rush that living room for those Christmas gifts. Right, too much. Shaun, I'm going to go to a clip here. I want to get your comment on. This is Trump saying, you know, they found out that he is in one of these terrorist videos now, recruitment videos, and here is Trump saying it's not a good time to be politically correct.
I don't think I have rough edges. I'll be honest with you. I went to an Ivy League school. I was a good student. I went to the Wharton School of Finance, the best business school in the world, probably, certainly, I mean, one of the great schools of the world. And I can be more politically correct than any coach that they can get me. I can be the most politically correct person with you. I could say something at the end of this interview. You would say, wow, is that boring?
Give us a perfectly political correct thing.
Here's the problem with political correctness. It takes too long. We don't have time. I talked about anchor babies at one news conference, and one of the reporters, actually from ABC, said, that's a derogatory term. I said, why? He said, well, it's derogatory. He didn't know why. And then I said, well, what would you call them? The babies of undocumented immigrants. He gave me like a 7 or 8 word definition. I said, we don't have time for that. I'm sorry, we don't have time for that. Now, look, I can be the most politically correct person that you've ever interviewed. It takes too much time.
Isn't there a cost? People I think all the names they call you because of the things you say.
Well, think of the fact that I'm leading in the poll by tremendous margins, and you know, I think that's part of it too. People don't want political correctness. They're tired of it today, and I think that's one of the things that has resonated with me. I don't go out of my way to be politically incorrect.
All right, now there's Trump, Shaun, talking about political correctness. Now, in the same mode here, we've got this Republican Party of Virginia statement of oath or statement of affiliation or pledge that is going to be thrust in the face of independent and other non-traditional grassroots activist Republican voters on March 1st, Super Tuesday. They're not going to know what it is. They're going to be asked to sign something, give their name, address, cell phone, a statement of oath, statement of affiliation, and all people want to do is go in on Super Tuesday, ask for a Republican ballot, and go vote for the candidate of their choice. I've been railing against this for weeks. I think it is a dreadful mistake the Republican Party of Virginia is making. For the life of me, I can't figure out one good reason to have it. It's senseless, but yet they're not backing down. Let me tell you the other thing. They told me it had nothing to do with the establishment at the Republican National Committee. Now they're telling me, when I said to them, well, it's not even legal, you didn't give the 90 days, they're telling me, oh, the RNC said it was fine, they vetted it, it's fine. Well, either the RNC's involved or not. What is the deal with this thing?
That's a great question across the board. And look, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. You know, I mean, the RNC and the rules, I mean, they've been known to wiggle around them at their will when it suits them. There's no question in my mind that this is directed at one candidate. All you have to do is ask who benefits, right? The rule is the rule is the rule. The deadline's clearly been missed. I think this is poorly advised. I don't think that this is something that the Republican Party of Virginia needs to be imposing. I don't think it's practical. I think it speaks of weakness within the party rather than playing to our strengths. I mean, look, if we're a growing party, if we're a party that's confident in our beliefs, if we're a party that believes in the principles of the Republican creed and believes that we can go out there and capture the hearts and minds of independent voters, there's no need for a loyalty oath when you go in front of a taxpayer-funded primary to exercise that right. If we wanted to try to restrict the nomination method to Republicans, right, there's a method of nomination that does that, and it's called a convention. And we came within one vote of getting that convention, and forces behind the scenes worked against us in order to make sure we couldn't have a convention. That's the real catch of it here. Now that we're in a taxpayer-funded primary, you're dealing with a different set of rules. I mean, we decided not to exercise our right of free association. We're exercising a different set of rights. And at that rate, in Virginia, it is an open primary. Independents can come in and vote. And quite frankly, if we're really firm in our beliefs, and believe me, and you know this, I'm no fan of Donald Trump's candidacy. He might be a great guy. I'd love to sit down and have a beer with him. But I'm not a fan of the candidacy. But look, at the end of the day, you play by the rules and you play it fair. And if you're not going to play it fair, why bother? To me, this is entirely a process question. And I think a loyalty oath is just an attempt to hijack that process in favor of a certain handful of candidates and objectively against another.
Shaun, Kenney, you're spot on. This whole effort was done for one reason, and that was to discourage independent Trump voters from showing up or turn them away, one or the other, in order to benefit one of the other candidates. It's only aimed at one enemy of whoever has concocted this, and that's Trump. That's why it is upsetting his supporters to such an extent. Now, look, I want to get back to the fact this is a taxpayer-funded election. The General Assembly has not passed party registration. They can't even get it out of committee. It goes nowhere. Somebody introduces it, it goes nowhere. So our own General Assembly has rejected it. Now, let me tell you the other thing, and you're spot on, Shaun. When there was a time where I was pro-primary, as you know, okay, especially after the debacle in 2013. I don't even want to get back into that. But I've since changed. I'm now pro-convention. And this is one of the reasons. I mean, what the Republicans are doing now, the establishment, is absolute nonsense. They couldn't pass their convention at State Central. They didn't do a firehouse primary. So now they're trying to jerry-rig the system with some stupid oath that they can't administer anyway. That is a PR nightmare. If you want to have a convention, they should have had one, and then I would have been fine with it. Everybody's going to have to play by the Republicans' rules because that's that. But this is a taxpayer-funded primary. This is the other thing, Shaun. We're the activists. We're involved in this every day. So we go in to vote, and we know there's going to be something to sign. How many unsuspecting, independent, and newly registered voters are there, Shaun, that have no idea they have to sign anything? They go in, they ask for a Republican ballot. They stand in line, they take off time from work, they go on their lunch hour, they get up early, whatever. They're excited, they ask for a ballot, and they're told they have to sign something. People don't like to sign things. They don't even know what it is. We don't even know what it is. Well, I don't want to sign that. And then they're told to go home. This is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. How can this stand?
And let's be honest about this. If you were to do the very same thing at a Republican convention, right?
Yes.
It's not a sign or die moment. You can say, no, I refuse to sign the statement of intent. It goes to nomination committee at that rate. And they sit there and say, okay, what's your beef? Are you really a Republican? And they could sit there and say, well, my name's, say, look, I've done this, I'm a former unit chair, I'm a former district chair, whatever the case may be, I'm a little old lady that's volunteered for the last 40 years, I feel really uncomfortable signing this. And the nominations committee could sit there and look at one another and say, you know what? she's got a point.
Right.
To have a member of the State Board of Elections sit there and thrust a piece of paper in front of you and say, sign it or you're not participating in a taxpayer-funded primary. I don't know about you, John. I'm not signing that. In good conscience, I can't do that because I shouldn't have to sign a loyalty oath in order to exercise my constitutionally guaranteed right to vote.
Bingo.
It's not their place to do that. And what's worse is that the state party isn't even being guaranteed access to any of that information, which means we're not guaranteeing the vote. We're not using that for resource building. We're not using that to build our numbers. All it is just a means of scaring certain people off. Newcomers to our party who want to participate, we're providing barriers, and that to me seems antithetical to everything we believe in as conservatives. We're a big tent party at the end of the day. The long pole of the tent is built on principle. We want as many people inside that tent as possible, especially if they're on the outside, and we shouldn't be creating barriers to make sure that people can't become Republicans. That, to me, is absolutely insane, and it's not what we ought to be about.
And that's what this is. This is a barrier done aimed at stopping one candidate, so they don't really care what the ramifications are. The PR nightmare is getting control. And you're right. I've got my own 87-year-old mother who has voted for Republicans since Wendell Willkie, who told me, I'm not signing it. I'll call Wavy TV. Now, she's going to go in there at 87, and they're going to have to what? Toss her out? And, I mean, it's the most craziest thing I've ever seen, but they're doubling down on it now. You know, they sent out, rather than deal with the truth, they send out talking points to their unit chairs, which I published on my Facebook page that somebody sent me, basically saying is, this is how to deal with the media with this, all that stuff made up. The other thing, which is absolutely outrageous about this, Shaun, is they told me this had nothing to do with the Republican National Committee. Zero. Then we went to them and said, well, it violates the rules, your rules, state of elections rules. It says you have to give a 90-day written public notice. Then they came back to me, Shaun, and said, well, the Republican National Committee vetted it and said it was fine. So either the RNC is involved or not. Which is it, Shaun?
Yeah, and that's, I know you felt a little bit of this. Certainly Republican new media has felt a little bit about this. It's, there's a lot of pressure coming from certain quarters to, quote-unquote, get the story right. And the bottom line is that the story is what it is. It's right. It's, there's a loyalty oath that's on the table. Certainly the Conservative Fellowship's opposed to it. Certainly Russ Moulton, who's the dean of the Conservative Fellowship, has been very vocal about their opposition to this. I mean, even the establishment conservatives don't like this. It's really coming from one quarter who's really sort of, kind of put their thumb on the, put their marker on it and pushed it all the way out. And now they're realizing there's a lot of resistance to this, and for good reason. But they're desperate to silence any criticism, and that to me just, that's just not the right attitude for for the state party to be taking. You put it out there, you got your feedback. The Conservative Fellowship is clearly opposed to this. Conservatives are clearly opposed to it. Just do the right thing and walk it back. There's nothing else to do at this rate.
Just get rid of it. I mean, that's what you have to do. Now, if you want to get involved and you want to pull the plug on the pledge, call the Republican Party of Virginia today in Richmond, 804-780-0111, 804-780-0111, 3 ones as 0 and 3 ones, or email them info@virginia.gop and tell them to pull the plug on the Shaun, where is this coming from? What is the genesis of this pledge?
Well, this is where you kind of come back to the question, cui bono, who benefits? Who would benefit from a loyalty oath in the Commonwealth of Virginia? Certainly not Trump, who's bringing in folks from the outside, not nefariously, obviously. He's running on the Republican ticket. He has a certain brand and a message. He's bringing that out, and certain new people to the Republican Party are coming back to the fold in numbers that you really haven't seen since 1994. There are others who might hold it suspect. I mean, certainly there are some on the establishment conservative side that just look at it from a matter of process and say, look, this isn't what Republicans are supposed to be about. But there are certain candidates, perhaps some of your more traditional conservatives, Cruz, for instance, who benefit from this perspective and who benefit from pushing out Trump supporters so that they can boil down the base to numbers that are manageable. And then look, and that's what, to be very honest and blunt about this, That's precisely what this is about. We talk about the consulting class on the establishment side. Well, there's obviously a consulting class on the other side as well. And in order to win elections, you've got to boil down the base, quote unquote, to something that's manageable, to something that fits within expectations. And quite honestly, Trump's candidacy doesn't fit within anybody's expectations. You ran through the reel at the beginning of the segment. He's really blown away every expectation everybody's had out there. Everybody kind of expected Trumpism to fold by this point in time, and instead it's only gained strength. He's clocking it at 40% in some of these polls. So, that to some people really spooks them off. And in a Virginia contest where it's a battleground state, you want to manage expectations, and quite frankly, this is a means of doing so. I think if somebody did some hard digging, you'd find out that there were certain campaigns or people attached to certain campaigns, insisting upon a loyalty oath. Right,
and I want to let our listeners know we're with Shaun Kenney, the former executive director of the Republican Party of Virginia, editor, founder, bearingdrift.com, and Shaun is not a Trump supporter, so just trucking the truth, saying the right thing, and Shaun, we appreciate that. I always appreciate your candor and your forthrightness. I got 20 seconds. Can people do anything to stop this?
You can call the state party. You can make it known on social media, on Facebook. Beyond that, just keep the fire on. Don't get bored with this, because it's your right to vote in a taxpayer-funded primary.
Okay, bang. Call 804-780-0111. That's Republican Party of Virginia. Email them at info@virginia.gop. Want to thank Shaun Kenney for being with us. Shaun, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Have you back.
Merry Christmas. Have a great year. Stick with those push-ups, man.